Welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine. I'm on episode 135. Hello. Not to continue the last episode, but to continue the last episode, let me just say a few remarks. I think there was like a couple of things I wanted to touch on some more and extend it. Okay, here's what I remember. So I think sometimes, when you get older, you become more mature, right? Or that is the expectation, to become more mature, to handle things with grace rather than with a petty nature, rather than with a poor and horrible attitude. And, as I said before, I have grown so much to be the person that I am today. I have put in the work to be this naturally, and not to say I wasn't compassionate before, it's just that it was underneath it all. Like, it was underneath my judgmental nature, it was underneath my negative attitude, it was underneath it all, and I did the work to dig it all up and find it. And now what's on the surface and what's just in me naturally and what I give naturally is my compassion, is my understanding, is my thoughtfulness, is so many great things. So like, I really fucks with me. Not to say I don't fucks with me back then. It's just to say that I've grown so much and I'm so grateful for my growth. Now, the growth talk. Sometimes, like, when you find yourself in a situation where you're arguing with someone and you have to decide to be the mature one here because that's the right thing to do, I have given myself permission to not do that anymore. And what I mean by that is I am giving myself permission, because I had a talk with God, I had a talk with self, and I really sat with myself like, you know what? Some things I wish I could have, not to say hit below the belt, but like sometimes I wish I would allow myself to be a little nasty with my words. A little nasty with my words, because I'm like, fuck, I could have said, you know what I mean? You leave something, you leave an argument, and then you replay that argument in your head, and you're like, I could have jabbed her here and X, Y, and Z. But because I'm so compassionate, I'm so nice, I'm so understanding, I'm so all these things, I don't take advantage of those opportunities. And I'm here to give myself on record permission, because yes, I've had a talk with self and God, but I'm giving myself permission on record on this podcast, and you as my listener could hold me accountable to be nasty when it's necessary and when it's needed and when it's called on. I just think sometimes maturity could be left at the door, and now that we're at this table, I'm gonna come in hot. So this is me giving myself permission for moving forward in future situations that may call for nasty Maxine, and not in nasty in a good, like not in the bedroom type of nasty. I'm talking about nasty like, damn, you really cut her with your words. I'm giving myself permission to go there, because I always like to not go there, because I know how I've been in the past. I know how nasty, and like I will hurt people like really badly with my words. My words are my weapon. My mouth is my weapon. And though I see it like my mouth is a blessing, right? Like, I know how to uplift, but I do know how to tear down. And I don't want to use the blessing from God and use it as a burden, and the enemy, the devil, is using it as a way to destroy me, right? So that has been my way of standing above and rising high, by not allowing myself to go below the belt, because I know how far I've come. But I am here right now to give myself permission to go there. I'm just giving myself permission to go there. I just think some people think, I feel like with my nice nature, there's this idea that, I could kind of walk over her. And not to say I've been walked over, and not to say that conversation that I had, that argument that I had with that friend, that I was walked over. Not to say that. It's just that I come away, I leave that conversation, I leave that moment thinking, I could have really gone in there. And maybe me giving myself permission is not to say I'm going to always hit below the belt, but I'm going to hit some notches. Okay. And I'm also saying this to also give you all permission. I think sometimes, as you get older, you think that, well, I have to only talk this way, or I can't be loud anymore because I'm 30 now. I'm in my 30s now. Like, no, bitch. Yes, the fuck I can. And I have, and I know it's in me, and God has given me the permission. God built this, right? And God built this, right? He has given me the permission to go there, because sometimes you need to go there. And you know what, like, has inspired me more? And it's a weird ass inspiration. So recently I watched the Breakfast Club interview with Jason Lee. And Jason Lee is this he's a blogger. He's a blogger. He's a podcast. Well, I don't know if he has a podcast, but he has a show on YouTube, Hollywood Unlocked, and he's been very, like, kind of nasty in the past, as far as he'll hit below the belt and just, like, not really, he doesn't really seem like a good person type of thing, right? So he's on the show and he's talking about how, like, he drastically changed. He lost weight. I think he did it through the surgical route, but nonetheless, he lost weight. He is eating healthier. He is really being mindful of what he consumes. And he was also sharing about his journey as far as healing. He talks about his upbringing, and I knew about his upbringing before from different episodes that he shared it on. He talked about his mother being bipolar and the effect of that on his own self-image. He talked about just he's a gay man, so dealing with the identity of all of that, and he seems to be now more accepting of who he is and his identity and all that stuff. That's great. But you could see in this interview, he is doing the work to be this healed person, and he's calmer now. Like, he's not yelling, he's not popping off, and that's how he used to be. He used to be a yeller. He used to pop off. He used to just immediately just cut, like, just nasty with it, and that's how I was, right? So seeing this interview, watching this interview and seeing him as he is right now, you see a change. You see a difference. You see growth. You see it. It is present. It is in your face. So what I find interesting is that he's demonstrating all of these things, right? He's demonstrating understanding. He's demonstrating just positive attributes that's really admirable. And he's also talking about a situation with Karen Civil. If you guys are unfamiliar, Karen Civil is, I don't even know what her title is, but she's in the entertainment industry, and she has, I think she's kind of like a publicist, a PR rep, whatever the fuck she is. But it has come to light lately that she is a fraud, that she steals people money, that she's a thief, essentially. And it kind of hurts me to say this out loud because she is a fellow Haitian, and it's like, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to rock with you just because we share a particular identity, right? Like, I'm not for all women. I'm not for all black women. I don't give a fuck about, like, I mean, I'm not for all Haitian women, I don't even like Haitian men like that. Honestly, like, I'm not for all of y'all. Like, I don't care. So I really don't care. But it's just kind of like, damn. Like, you're making us look bad. So that's annoying. But Karen Civil, she's been exposed. She had an expose through different social media platforms, and she's seeming to be allegedly a fraud, a thief, and she's stolen people's money and she's like nasty with it. Like, she would just take away someone's account on social media. You could get paid through your Instagram. You could get paid through different social media profiles. And she has she's admitted to it, but let me just say allegedly, she has taken down the page of Jason Lee's Hollywood Unlocked page. And this is his income. Like, this is a part of his income, and this is his way of making money. But she has found the people to be able to tear down his page. And so he's upset by it. He's talking about, this happened like in 2018, 2017, around that time. And he's talking about how though he's in this healing journey, though he's growing and learning, he is still going to have vengeance, and he's still going to make it clear that vengeance is available and is mine. And I know we like to say, well, Christians would like to say, well, vengeance is the Lord, let it go, God will handle it. Here's the thing with that. I think sometimes with that saying, it comes off as if you are just going to be a doormat and, well, God will handle it. When? That's my question. When? It's not to say God won't. I've seen or heard ways that God has taken things into his own hands and handle it. Great. But I want to handle it. So you know what I mean? Like, I want to give myself, not to say God can't, obviously, but I think ultimately God can use us as tools, as vessels, to allow vengeance to be had. And in the case with Jason Lee, vengeance had been taking place with Karen Civil. She has recently been exposed, and he is in the works of continuing to tear her down, and he's doing it behind the scenes. He's doing it on the legal case. He's doing it, and he is still owning the fact that he is still a healed person. Like, he is still working on his, like, you could still tell that he's still adamant about therapy and just self-growth and all these things. And I think both things can still be true. You could be emotionally mature. You could work on your maturity. You could work on your emotional intelligence, and you could work on your mental blockages, all of these great things. And you could still have vengeance. And you could still stand up for yourself, however that looks like. And you could still yell, speak up, curse somebody out, and still be healed. Like, all of these things can encompass one person. And for a while, I only was thinking, well, if I'm a healed person, if I've worked so hard to be this compassionate, understanding person, that means I have to only be that way all the time. And that leaves room for people to try me. And what I don't like is to be tried. And I know that with myself, like with my attitude, which is why I've been very, very cautious of my feelings being all the way open and out there, because I know when I get angry, I get angry. When I get sad, I feel every emotion deeply. So I have to be mindful of, oh, this is a moment that could get me angry. Let me go ahead and not put too much energy here and eventually walk away. Sometimes you have to stand in the fire and punch a bitch. Not to say I'm not rooting for violence. I'm not saying violent. I'm not saying be violent. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying metaphorically, sometimes you have to stand in the fire and be that fire. I'm just saying, like, we have to allow ourselves to be all of this, all of who we are. We can't just always be this emotionally. We can't always be the bigger person. I want to be low. I want to be on the ground with the rats. I want to be with the beaver in the water, those rat mouses, the water mice. I want to go in. I want to be in the sewer. I want to be in the sewer with you bitches. I want to go there. That's it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to keep on riding high. I don't want to be in the clouds with y'all. Michelle Obama, they go low, we go. No, I'm going to go low. I'm going to go lower. I'm going to be to the ground. I'm going to be with the devil. That's how, and rightfully so. And I'm just saying all this to say, defend yourself at all costs. And I'm so not lying. This is dead ass me giving myself permission to go there, and it's okay to do so. And hopefully this is giving you all permission to do the same, because niggas like to get it fucked up with just a presentation of someone, right? Oh, you're sweet, you're nice, right? You smile, you laugh. Don't get it confused. Okay? Let's talk about The View. The View. This really pains me. It really pains me. Let me just breathe for that. It really pains me to talk about The View in the way that I'm about to talk about The View, and in the way that I've been talking about The View the past few moments. Um, y'all know I've been a fan of The View since I was 12. Like, I was a youngin' watching The View, watching Barbara Walters when she was on it, because, you know, she created the show and she was on it for a few years until she finally retired and finally fucking left. Like, girl, go sleep. You are about to croak. But I was a fan of the show for many, 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 many years, okay? I created my schedule, my college schedule, around The View when I was in undergrad, because I love the show so much. And at that time, there were no DVRs, there were no pre-record, like that was not an option then. So needless to say, I love The View. The View was my shit. And what I loved about The View was the fact that you have women, and I wasn't at that point. I mean, you know how now I feel like I'm not at all pro democratic beliefs. At that point, you know, I grew up democratic with my parents and the family. It was just what it was. But ultimately, what I admired about The View was just the women on the cast who were just proud to share their beliefs, their thoughts, who argued with each other, who stood strong in their beliefs, and it was just admirable to me. I love seeing that strength in women. So watching that show was very inspiring for me. Come now to a most recent, mind you, I haven't watched The View since it was announced that Meghan McCain left the show and she won't be returning for the new season. And the new season has started. And I haven't watched a full episode. I've seen clips on Twitter of the episode, so I know it's on. I know they're back in the studio. I know they're not wearing masks in the studio unless you're an audience member, which, again, hoocha. I think COVID has really opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and it really has rubbed me the wrong way of how some people are handling it, how things are being presented, how optics are really just changing people's behavior and just intensifying the mass hysteria that we are experiencing here in this world right now. And The View is a part of that mess, what I'm noticing. I even stopped listening to a podcast that I used to listen to consistently. I'm not going to say the name of the podcast, but I'm going to say that it was a Black women podcast. This Black woman was the host and the creator of it, and she will always have a panel of Black women or women of color on the show, and every month she'll have one like man on the show to kind of just shake it up. But ultimately it was always Black women on the show, and it was basically it was The View, but all Black women, and it was a podcast version of it, and they were all comedians, most of them, but the host of the show was definitely a comedian. The COVID situation has made me turned off and maybe unattracted to that podcast, because she was just continuously just projecting fear, and more fear. It's one thing to share the news, right, or whatever it is, but what is news? But it's also another thing to just always come on the show and make people afraid. Like, I changed my Instagram bio to freedom over fear. And that may sound political, but it's really just shit. Maybe it is. I don't give a fuck. What I see it is, I am consistently doing the necessary steps to overcome fear in every capacity, whatever that looks like. It could be like small fear, big fear, right? You know how some people like fear public speaking, or, you know, leading something, whatever it is. I believe fear is the basis of what is holding everyone back from really doing anything, right? You may have a goal for yourself, but you're afraid to go there because you're afraid, because of fear. And every day you have to take steps to debunk that. You have to debunk this myth of fear. Fear isn't real. And every day you have to speak against that. Every day is really a mind fuck. And the media projects fear. And that podcast that I was listening to was projecting fear so consistently about COVID. I understand in the beginning of the pandemic, it was definitely a hysteria. It was new. It was what was going on. People were dropping like flies, according to the media, right? I'm not saying I don't believe COVID is real. Absolutely. COVID is real. But my thing is, we don't share any good news. When Joe Rogan was diagnosed, but I don't know, that's a problem. When he was tested positive for COVID, and he decided to take everything from his kitchen sink and put it in his body, and one of the things that he included in his remedy was ivermectin. Okay. Ivermectin is considered a horse dewormer, or is a medicine particularly for horses. Whatever the case is, he used it in his body, and that was a aid to helping him feel 100%. Amongst the other things that he took. I'm not saying ivermectin was the only thing that helped him to feel 100%, but it helped. And instead of praising and rejoicing that, wow, he feels better. Wow, it only took 2 days of downtime for him to feel 100% and to eventually be tested negative for COVID. The media is so fixated on the fact that you took horse dewormer. Like, please, everyone, don't take horse dewormer. And we're now having to believe this rhetoric of fear. Just be afraid of everything else. Vaccine is the only way to fight against it, when there are plenty of cases of folks who have gotten the vaccine and still contracted the virus. So, I mean, why can't we find solutions that isn't just one size fit all? You know what I mean? I'm not giving judgment to those who did decide to vaccinate. Again, I'm about freedom over fear. If that is your choice to do it, support you. Great. I just don't like the fear mongering in this world. I didn't like the fear mongering in the church. Okay? And we could go there. I didn't like the fear mongering in the church. If you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. If you don't forgive your rapist, you're going to go to hell. If you don't forgive just the toxicity in the church, you're going to go to hell. Forgive no matter what. I don't even support forgiveness. Can we go there? Can we just pause for a second? I know I was talking about The View. Forgiveness. This brings me back to that previous case. I think this was 2 years ago, with that white woman who came into the house, or came into a house, an apartment, in her apartment complex. She accidentally walked into the wrong apartment, thought it was her apartment, and she saw that black man who, I thought he was Haitian because of his name, but he actually isn't. But he was sitting down in what she thought was her apartment, and she immediately shot him dead. And she happened to be a cop. And when the trial came about, all of the people, the judge was black. The lawyer, everyone was black in this leadership position, and they're forgiving her. The judge was hugging her. The family of, yes, that's his name, Boham Jean. I'm saying yes to myself. I just remembered his name. I'm saying yes, Maxine, that was his name. But that's his name, Boham Jean. Boham Jean. You know, that last name is so Haitian, so I just thought he was Haitian. But his family was like, we forgive you. His brother got on stand and was like, I forgive you. We forgive you. We know it was a hard decision and you didn't mean to. Fuck forgiveness. No, I just don't, like, this brings me back to the church. So when we are now in a world where we can't at all choose to feel how we want to feel, and like decide what's best for us, but we're forced and mandated to feel afraid, and fear is the only way. And if you don't feel fear, then you're bad for not doing what I told you to do. I don't like that. Anyway, going back to The View, I'm now calling it the hoax. The hoax. The hoax. Isn't that funny? I'm calling it the hoax because there was a recent episode that came out of the hoax, and prior to commercial break happening, there was an announcement during the live show, y'all. There was an announcement made, and the producer's like, "Can we have Sunny Hostin and Anna Navarro please leave the studio? Please come to the back." They immediately get up and leave the studio. Mind you, this is a live taping. There are audience members in the freaking studio with them. This is like, what are we doing? So they leave, and Joy Behar, who's moderating this episode, because she moderates every Friday episode from, I do remember how things were, even though I haven't been watching. So she's like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll find out what happened with Sunny and Ana Navarro. This is a teaser. Come back after this commercial." She's literally saying these things, right? She said the word teaser. She said, "We'll find out later." And come to find out, Sunny and Ana Navarro were tested positive for COVID. And I'm thinking to myself, huh? So you mean to tell me and mind you, this was the same episode in which Kamala Harris came on the show virtually, though. She came on the show virtually. And I don't know if she was supposed to come on the show in person, and this news came of Sunny and Anna being positive for COVID, made her be forced to be virtual. I don't know what it was, but either way, she's a guest on the show for that episode. And I'm reading this and I'm seeing these clips, and I'm like, this is all a show. Nothing is real. I'm just like, what the fuck is going? And I'm watching this, I'm thinking like, wow, I'm really supposed to be a fool in order to operate in this world. I'm supposed to just go about everything and not question status quo and not be at all upset about X, Y, and Z, and not have challenges and not have questions and not challenging the system. I'm just supposed to acquiesce and shut the fuck up. That's basically what I'm supposed to do. Let me just go ahead and acquiesce and shut the fuck up. And I have grown to be the woman that I am today, and realizing that, no, I don't want to shut the fuck up. I'm not going to shut the fuck up. And it's freedom over fear. They're doing this for show. And this was all for optics. This was all to gain more ratings. And I don't know how their ratings are. I mean, I was of the belief that they were doing great. So I don't know why they would do something like this. But, the show has been more liberal focused than anything else, which is why I was so upset when Meghan McCain left the show, because I'm like, damn, she was finally a representation of another voice. I don't want to keep on hearing the same voices speaking the same thing. Let's have some diversity. Let's challenge some thought. Let's question ourselves. Let's have an actual conversation that is not just one-sided. I want to hear all sides, and that's what Meghan McCain brought to the table, and I miss her. But whatever. So they did this to gain more traction, and the fact that none of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense, because why are you just now getting tested and just now getting the results while you've been already filming the show? There's already been 2 segments that's passed in this episode, and now they finally get the result that Sunny Hostin and Ana Navarro has been tested positive? Huh? What does that even mean? They're on the show. The ladies get to the show just like any other show. You don't get there 10 minutes before it's time to start taping. No, you get there a good 2 hours, probably the very least, to prepare notes, to maybe have a meeting for that day, to go over the agenda, to do hair and makeup, wardrobe. It's a whole setup. So during that setup, as soon as they enter the studio, they should immediately be tested, if that's what they're doing every day, right? They should immediately be tested. And they would have known because the test, your results could come in within 15 minutes, especially if you have more money and more access to have tests that could do that for you. But you meaning to tell me you got tested right before you got on the show and got the result while you've been taping? Huh? You could have gotten the results much earlier. This could have been already handled. You couldn't have not, like, you didn't even need to come on the show. Like, you could have just been like, well, I got tested positive. I'm not going to be able to film with the ladies today. But no, you film with the ladies. So essentially, if we want to talk about exposure, you expose everybody in the room to this. It's just, why did y'all need to do that? And that just put a real sour taste in my mouth. Like, okay, I'm definitely not going to go back and watch the show because this is what we're doing. Is this what we're doing? So that really turned me off. It really pains me to say this because, again, I've been an avid View watcher for many, many years, and shit has changed. Gabby Petito, hold on, let's talk about her real quick. This white girl who got killed by, well, we don't know if it's her boyfriend who did it, but something happened. Gabby Petito. Am I saying right? Petito. Sorry. Gabby Petito. And rest in peace. This is still a sad case. I'm not even gonna, I'm gonna find a way to be funny. But let me just share out the facts. So Gabby Petito, who is a YouTuber and I guess somewhat of an influencer online, has recently been found dead. Her body was found in a park, in a national park. Child, I need to get my notes ready. I'm so sorry. But what I want to talk about is the fact that her fiance actually was the last person she was with, and they went to a park together actually, and he leaves alone. He doesn't leave with her. He leaves alone, and he goes back home to Florida, which is already a red flag. Child, don't talk to anybody from Florida. Don't talk to any. Oh my gosh, I remember I was in Florida. I was in Miami during that god awful bachelorette trip I was a part of years ago, and I remember being out with some of the girls, and we walk into a spot. This guy, he's dark skinned. He was kind of like low brow type. I don't know how else to describe him, but he was just like this kind of cool guy. Like, cool has in, like, he's not doing too much. He's just like chilling in the background, right? He catches my eye. He invites us to his section, right? And he's interested in me. He seems cute. Okay, kiki. I'll kiki with you, whatever. So we're flirting. He's like going hard. Probably dick is hard too. Like, calm down. And what I mean by that is he's going hard because he's saying things like, I see a future with you. You could be my wife. Like, nigga, you could be a friend across the street. Nigga, I don't want anything more than this moment with you. That's it. This is it. So he's going in, like, saying all these, like, yada, yada, this, yada, yada, that. And it's cute, but I'm also, at that time, I was like, okay, nigga, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not into the whole big gesture ass words, like, we could go to Cabo together, and, huh? What? We could do what together? Like, I don't even know your political affiliations. Like, but anyway, he was saying all these things, being super extra. And again, we're in Miami, we're in Florida. So we exchanged numbers. And what else happened? Okay, so we changed numbers. I go back to the hotel. He wants to meet up that night, like later on that night. Mind you, we left the space, I want to say at 10. He wants to meet up again. And he wants me, mind you, it's like 11 at this point. 11 is getting close to midnight. And he wants to meet up and just hang out some more. And I'm like, oh, First of all, no. It's dumb late. No, I'm already tired. I'm already tired. Okay, but it's super late, and I don't even. And I said to him, like, I don't even know you like that. Like, you could be. And I have a joke sometimes. Like, when I was single, I would say, like, you could be a serial killer. I'm not gonna go out with you. I'll say some stupid shit like that. But that's low key true, right? I would say stuff like that just to um see the reaction that I would get. And with him, I said something like that. I was like, I'm not gonna go to your house at this time. I don't even know you like that. And he's like, trying to brush it off. Like, he wasn't at all trying to make me feel comfortable. He was instead still trying to convince me that coming out with him was the only choice that I had that night, basically. And I'm like, why don't you just come over to my hotel? We'll hang out at the lobby and just continue to get to know each other and just have a cool time. That's like, why can't that also be the option? Why is the only option is for me to go to your house at midnight and this is my first time meeting you? Huh? And you're already dark skinned, so that means you're a killer. Like, I'm not gonna do that, right? So it's a joke. It's a joke. So I'm not gonna do that, right? So he kept on being persistent about it. I definitely just like shot him down every time. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not doing it, period. So I finally stopped responding. And I was also saying, like, how about we just go ahead and meet tomorrow morning for breakfast? Like, we can meet up for breakfast in the morning. Come tomorrow morning. I reached out to him. He doesn't respond. I get no response from him. I think he eventually did end up responding much later, but he still wasn't at all really interested in anything outside of his house. It was just this persistent, no, come to my house. You're fine. You're fine. And look, I'm not going to be here and say that he was a sex trafficker, but I'm not going to be here and say that he may have not have been. He very well could have been. This could have been a ploy to get me to his house. And then once I go to his house, boom, I'm in the basement with 4 other women. Strapped to the pole. Like, thank God. Like, I've been in situations where, oh my gosh, had I met up with this guy, I could have been a case. I remember when I was younger, I used to be on group chats online. Like, you know how back in the day, like, before there was an Instagram, before there was a Facebook, before there was a MySpace, there was just online chat rooms. Just chat rooms online, okay? You could play pool online. I was a beast at playing pool online. And while you're playing pool, you could chat with your opponent, with your players. And there were other chat rooms you could go on to, like just random chat rooms. And I will go into these chat rooms and talk. I didn't have webcam at the time. My dad eventually got webcam later on, but I didn't have webcam at the time. But I would talk to different people. I don't know who they were at the other end, but I would talk to different people. And AIM, Instant Messenger, that was another type of group chat that you could talk to anybody. But I had people in my life who I actually was friends with, who I knew in real life, who I was talking to on on AIM. Anyway, I remember talking to this guy. He presented himself as someone around my age. I was 13, 12, 14. I was my freshman year of high school. I was young. I don't think I was a freshman. I was in 8th grade. And I was talking to this guy, and he said he was like around my age. So he probably must have been maybe early years in high school. I don't think he was an 8th grader like me at the time, but he was not too far off. And I was thinking, like, okay, this is fine. We're just chatting online. He asked me where I live, or at least what part in Boston do you live? I said Dorchester. He was telling me where he lives, and it was pretty close to the neighborhood that I lived in. And he was like, oh, we should meet up. Like, you should come over tomorrow morning before you go to school. Mind you, this is, I'm supposed to go over your house before I go to school. Nigga, I already knew it was a no. And I wasn't like, I had my fast moments back then, but I was also like not stupid. And I don't know, I just wasn't going to do that, right? So he kept on saying that, like, you should come over before you go to school tomorrow. I live right in those who are from Boston know what I'm gonna say. Fields Corner. Fields Corner is another little neighborhood in Boston in the Dorchester area, and he lived right in that area. He said that's what he said, and he's like, yeah, I'm that house. Like he was like pointing out specifically where he lived, and for a moment I did consider like, well, I mean, he lives right there. Why not? Like it shouldn't be an issue. But eventually thank God he like, God was like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? So eventually I said no, and I kept on saying no because he kept on asking me. And he finally stopped pestering me about it, and he just disappeared. He never hit me up again, and that was it. I remember like a few weeks later, I watched a movie on Lifetime, and I used to love Lifetime movies. I still do, but I loved them when I was younger. I used to watch a movie on I watched a movie on Lifetime, and the topic of the movie was about cyber, like predator behavior, and how this young girl, she was connecting with this guy online, and he seems to like the same things that she likes, and he seemed to be her age, and they meet up, or he picks her up and she thinks he's a cool guy, and when she gets in the car she realizes, oh, this is not the same, the pictures didn't add up, this is not the same guy, he's not my age, like everything just turned out creepy. She ended up getting kidnapped, and it was crazy. Now that was a movie. I think it was actually based off of real facts, but these are real things that can happen and has happened. There are real cases. And why did I bring that whole story up? I bring it up because Florida. Okay, I didn't meet the guy online from Florida, but the point is you have to beware of dangerous people. And I brought up the Florida situation initially because that guy, he could have been another example of some type of sex trafficking situation. Just because he's from Florida. That is it. And bring it back to the initial point of this conversation. Gabby Petito, her boyfriend was from Florida. That should have been enough to be like, girl, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? So that's my spiel on why Florida. Don't talk to Florida niggas. Don't go over people's houses. Don't meet someone online. Well, back then was different. Nowadays you can meet someone online and have a beautiful family with them, and like that's totally fine. I'm not saying be afraid of online dating. I'm just saying when you're young and impressionable, you're freaking 12, 13, and this was during the time when online chatting, online chat rooms, online dating was a thing, and it just became a thing. Like it was it was the thing to do. You have people who are predators who will seek that as an opportunity to take advantage of naive people like me at the time. Thank God I didn't go any further, but you have people who are definitely preyed on. So, rest in peace to her. And I think her fiance did it. Child, and it is so. Kelly Price. Where the fuck is Kelly Price? I'm seeing that she was missing, and by missing means that her family hasn't heard from her, and she actually has been with her fiance, but he is not a fiance anymore. I've come to find out that she secretly married him. A lot of interesting things going on. I wish her well. I don't know if she's found or she is purposely hiding away from her family. What the fuck is going on? What's going on? 2021, what's going on? What is going on? Married at First Sight. Let's get into it. Married at First Sight. Let's get in. If y'all watched it, you know why I'm already exhausted. You know why I am already exhausted. I don't think I even have the energy right now to talk about Married at First Sight. Okay, let's get into it. Jose, no way, get away. Josue. Jose is exactly who I thought he was. Jose is exactly who I thought he was. Now, who I just I'm just gonna touch on a few points and move on because I don't even have the bandwidth emotionally to get into this conversation because it's triggering for me, and it's triggering for me because he reminds me a lot of my ex-boyfriend. I mean, look, me and him didn't live together, so I don't know how petty that nigga could have been with me, but locking me out, that never happened. But I don't see it far from happening, right? Had we lived together and actually like was like together all the time. Well, we were together all the time, but like lived together. So Josue locks out Rachel and denies the actual act of doing it. He says to the guys, well, I accidentally locked, put the deadbolt lock on and was just trying to calm it down like it's not a big deal. And now you have a situation where someone who is gaslighting you. He's a big ass gaslighter. Couple of things that I completely dislike about Jose, and it's the gaslighting, yes. It's the controlling. It's the constant need for praise for his credit score. Is everybody okay? I'm just trying to understand what about him that made Rachel be so giddy and so excited to be with him. I remember my relationship with Leprechaun Bay and how I was so. That's why I can't be hypocritical right now, because I understand how Rachel felt the way that she felt towards Jose. She saw him as someone who's stable and trustworthy. And that's how I viewed Leprechaun Bay. He was so good on paper. He was a homeowner. He worked at a great firm. He seemed to have his shit together. He didn't have any children. He wasn't, like he looked good on paper. And I was so fixated on being with someone who looked good on paper that I was disregarding my feelings and what I was saying to myself internally and what God was telling me. There were many times in that relationship when I felt like, yeah, this is not who I'm supposed to be with. I was cringing every time I was with him. I wasn't attracted to him physically, sexually, all the leads. It wasn't there. I mean, mentally it was there in some regards, but as far as everything else, no. So that really, really just opened my eyes retrospectively. When I look at Rachel, though, and at that fight that they had at their apartment, and she's coming up to him talking about, are you okay with how you spoke to me the other night? And she says she can't be his wife anymore. And she left to go pack. The producers coerced her. I feel like it's coercion, but they coerced her to go back out there and speak to him. And do you want to leave it like that? Don't you have more to say? Like, no, nigga, I don't. Well, she came back out, and apparently she wrote down, or she had a whole notes section on her phone of feelings that she had against him and against their marriage. She felt like he was controlling, which he is. She felt like he wasn't a good listener, which he definitely that is on target. And she never spoke to him about that. She never rose up and said, "Hey, I don't like when you do this," and really like stood her ground on it. There was a moment when she did say she wanted him to be a better listener, but I think the way that she said it, she wasn't very I mean, she said it directly, don't get me wrong, but she didn't stamp it. She didn't really. She kind of said it passively, like, "I just want you to be a good listener. Just be a good listener." Like, it was like, "No, you don't listen to me, and I don't like that. Like, you need to stop talking. You always talk. You know, like, however you want to say it, but like sometimes you gotta get out of that professional voice and curse someone out." Because when he was reacting to her, she's like, he's smiling super hard with his white ass mouth, talking about, "Oh, I was a good listener before I got married." What the fuck does that mean? That's dumb as hell. So he's saying all these things, and he is just not at all a great guy. Y'all, I am trying to push through with this episode. I had to change positions. I was standing. I was sitting on my bar stool and then cramping like a motherfucker. So now I am laying down on my couch. Not laying down, I'm just like, my back is against the couch as my feet are up on the couch. So in case you hear a difference in my, I just want to be honest and transparent. So in case you hear a difference in the affliction of my voice, just the tone of it all, is because of the difference in position that I'm in. But we're gonna push through and get through this maths review, Married at First Sight review. So Jose is no way, he's trash. Throw him away. I feel like had honestly, I commend Rachel for being as mature as she was. And that is the best way to treat someone who is immature as he is, him logging her out and not owning up to the fact that that was fucked up. You know, instead of engaging with him and being like, "You ain't shit," type of thing. "You ain't shit, nigga. That's why your ass is short." Instead of doing all of that, your best bet is to disengage. Which is why when I'm in arguments with people, I do my best to disengage as much as I can, because you don't want to give the other person the satisfaction that they took you to a level that you didn't want to go, but boom, we're here now. Which is why in the last episode, I talked about a conversation that went completely left with a friend. I was doing my best to not engage because I know I really understand. I see things very spiritual, and I know that some people who do that, or everyone who do that, they do it for the cause or for the motive to get you out of character, to know that they really wound you up and they grinded your gears. And I don't want to give anyone that satisfaction. But sometimes I'm going to give myself the satisfaction in knowing that I cussed your ass out and I did it in a professional way, right? I feel like there's a way to do it without going too out of character. There's a balance. But anyway, I appreciate how Rachel handled it. I like how she was very clear and direct. Like, "Okay, well, I cannot be your wife anymore. Here are the reasons why, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to pack up my shit, yada, yada, yada." Because had she popped off, cursed him out, threw things, then he would get some sort of satisfaction, some creepy satisfaction, knowing that she went that far. And now he's gleeing and excited. Y'all remember Boston Bay? I haven't brought up that nigga in years. Years. It's been a lot of episodes since I've talked about him. But one time when I got out of character, and not to say anger is not a part of my character, but I'm not typically an angry person, but I went there. I got out of character, and I was displaying my annoyed reaction to something that he did to me. And I was letting him know, I don't like that. Like, that's not cool. I don't like that you just did that. And I'm saying it with an attitude, or I'm saying it very clearly and directly and emphatically. And his response, you guys, was so cheerful. Like, "Yes, I got her. I got her to react this way. I got her angry. Yes, it worked." And that's what I saw in him. That's what I saw in his eyes. That's what I saw in his smirk in his face. I wanted to slap the shit out of him, but he would have beat my ass up. Let me tell you that. That nigga would have probably put me in a chokehold. So my hands were to myself. Sometimes you gotta know who you could put your hands on. Man or woman, whatever you identify, you gotta know who to put your hands on and who to not. Boston Bay is not. Look, I'm not saying you should put your hands on anybody, but there's some guys you could kind of like, nigga, shut the fuck up, you know? Woo, my God, today. All right, so, I think ultimately we are in an assimilation. I'm always get back to that. Anyway, let me get to the point. What was I saying? Yeah, so when I reacted in anger, he was so pleased. Instead of being like, "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to get angry." Like instead of being immediately apologetic or immediately trying to appease just me calming down from my anger, you're rejoicing in it. That is just a nasty thing. And when I look at Jose, he's like someone who would rejoice in Rachel coming out of character and cursing his ass out. It would have been a no for me, dog. I would have my God, today I would have done the same thing for like Rachel did, as far as like I would have said my piece, maybe I would have said it emphatically, but there wouldn't have been opportunities to have another conversation. I would have left. You know what I would have, as soon as I realized he deadbolted the door, my nigga, you would have never heard from me again. Okay. And he would have hit me up. You would have never heard from me again. I will send someone to get my things. I don't ever want to see you. And if I do see you, you're getting this foot up your ass. Like, no. Some people you just don't need to engage with. Child, yeah. Jose is a no way. Zach, are you okay? Zach. Michaela should be able to share her opinions or her feelings about anything, and Zach not bawl out in tears. Why are you crying when she's legitimately saying, I don't like that you put me in a box and make me feel like I can't grow from my poor behavior? But you're crying about it. I just really want this to work. And she's trying to comfort him. He's like, don't touch me. Don't. Are you a bitch? Are you a bitch? So, Zach, like, look, I've said this before. Look, I don't know what he is. All I know is he ain't all the way what a nigga needs to be, okay? That nigga is missing something. And I do think it's because of how he was raised. He grew up in an all-white school. He went to an all-white Catholic school. He was one of two niggas in the school. So there's some white in him. If nothing else is concluded by this. I'm not saying he's gay. I'm not saying Jose is gay. I'm just saying maybe. Okay, maybe something's up. I just cannot. I cannot. That is irritating. And I'm not saying men can't cry. I'm not saying men can't cry. Did I say that? I'm just saying men can't cry. I'm kidding. No. I do want my man to be able to cry, like with me. Sure, that's fine. Or cry alone. However you want to do, that's fine. But the way that Zach was crying, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Like, is your back? Are you cramping like me right now? Are you a bitch? You guys. I'm so turned off with the events in this episode of Married at First Sight. It was definitely entertaining, don't get me wrong, but man, I pity a fool. I pity all of them. I do appreciate Bao and Johnny for progressing, but I'm still not on board with any one of them. I really don't give a fuck at this point. Bao, no, not my. I don't have criticism for her. Johnny, I think Johnny is someone who still is operating from this fantastical point of view of how a relationship should look like. Same with Ryan. I don't know why Ryan don't like Brett. I think she's so pretty. I think she's so freaking pretty. I think she has a good personality. I like her. Like, I will be friends with her. And it just sucks that he doesn't see anything in her. Like, it sucks that he hasn't tried to approach her. As far as like, he hasn't tried to like hold her from the back and caress her. But there's moments when we will see image or scenes of them sitting close and hand on knee, and there's some level of physical intimacy, but they haven't kissed. I don't get it. I don't get it, and it's disappointing. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? I'm gonna end it here, you guys. Reminder to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/GodBuiltThis. This is where you get exclusive content to the podcast. Check to see which tier is more suitable for you, but that is an available source for those who want more of me. If you want more of me, go check out the Patreon. All right, I'm gonna end it here. Goodbye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.